Greetings, Cosmo here. Today we're going to be talking about shaving soap samples. I see questions asked occasionally on different forums. Hey, I've got this sample. How the heck do I go about lathering it? Samples come in all different sort of shapes and sizes and flavors. Here's one from Magard Razors. You see it's a little tub like that. We've got this puck, 1 ounce puck from Sterling Soaps. So they can be like that. Here's one from Summer Break Soaps. So a little bit, this is one of the larger of these containers that I've seen. Or sometimes you might get just a bag like this here from Zingari Man with just a little chunk of a sample inside there. Or here's a penny sample that I got from a guy called USS SpongeBob on Reddit. So you can work up any of these. As a matter of fact, this technique works with regular soap as well. This is the way that I lather everything. Here is a triple milled soap from Saponificio. You can see that I've been scooping out of there. You see how clean that is? That's never been touched by a brush. So no cross-contamination on any of this stuff. There are some popular lathering techniques where people take the brush and load it up inside there, and that's fine. That works great. One of the things that I found that really gives me the best lather is making sure that I get a lot of soap on that brush. And for me, when I'm doing it like this, there's a lot of randomness in that, and so I can't be consistent with how much soap I'm putting onto the brush. So what I do instead is I actually scoop the sample out. I use a little, this is actually an icing spatula, but I use this so that I'm not sticking my fingers in it, again, because of the cross-contamination concerns. And so with this, I can be very consistent about how much soap I use, and then I can just make sure that however much I scoop out, I pick up with the brush, and I'm picking up the same amount of soap every time. Then it just comes down to getting the right amount of water and elbow grease in there. So what we will do is I'll switch the view so that we can see the sink, and we'll go step by step with my process for building up this lather. It's a bit of a hybrid. We're going to start in a loading bowl, and then we will finish up with a face lather and talk about some of the things to look for along the way. So let's take a look. All right, so we've got our brush warming up in some water there. That's going to actually absorb some heat and feel nice and warm and soften up those hairs a little bit. We've got our sample from Summer Break Soaps. Winter Break is the name of it. And we're going to take and scoop some out of there. I use a lot. And the reason that I use a lot is because I found that I get a better lather. I've tried to kind of minimize how much soap I use, and I just don't get very good lathers that way. So I got a pretty big hunk of lather, and it's going to make a ton, but it's going to be good. So I'm going to take that off of there, and I'm going to put that down in my bowl and make it a nice even thin layer so that I can pick it up relatively quickly with the brush there. That's a lot of soap, actually. So spread that around, and now the brush. For me, I start with a pretty dry brush, so I'm gonna squeeze the excess water out of there without putting too much stress on that part of where the glue bump is down there. And then I'm going to support that and just shake out a little bit of the excess. That's pretty good. Sometimes the water can hide down in this area here and then sneak out into your lather when you're not quite ready for it and break your lather. So now we're going to just very light pressure here start picking up that soap. And like I said before, I like doing it this way because I can be very consistent with how much soap I pick up. And then, so it's starting to load up there. So I'm just gonna take and dip just the tips in the water there and shake out any excess, and very, very light pressure. Continue loading that soap into the brush. And then once it kind of stops picking it up, we'll add a little bit more water again and just get the remainder of that soap going. We're not putting a bunch of pressure on there. In fact, you can see it's not even lathering yet. We're just picking up soap. Once we got it all picked up, there's still a little bit in there. I put a decent amount of soap in there. We'll get just a little bit more water, pick up the rest of that. And now it just wants to lather. It can't even help it itself. So I'm gonna make sure that water's fully incorporated there, and then I'm gonna start putting just a little bit of downward pressure, not too much, and that's gonna splay that knot out and get it to start building that lather. You can hear it. I'm not going crazy with that, and I know some people say, oh, you shouldn't put that torsional stress on the knot, but I don't know how else you're supposed to do it. I haven't ruined any of my knots yet. So that's still really pasty and kind of chalky. So we're gonna add a little bit more water. And see, it's starting to make a pretty nice looking lather there, but we're not even close yet. So we're gonna incorporate some water into it, very light. And once the water's incorporated, press down just a bit. Get that lather going. You can hear when the air gets in there. Look at that. That looks pretty beautiful. Now, you might be tempted to say, oh yeah, there we are, we're done. But it's still a little bit thick. So we're gonna add just a little bit. Do it slowly. Especially at first when you're trying to figure out maybe a new brand of soap. They're all a little bit different. Or if you're new to wet shaving and you're trying to get your lather dialed in, put that water in slowly. The weight's worth it. That's starting to look really pretty there. See how shiny that is? That's gonna be really slick and protective. I'm gonna add a little bit more water, shake out any excess there, incorporate it into what you've already got going. If you don't incorporate that water, you run the risk of breaking the lather and making it too bubbly, but that's looking really nice there. Now you can see that's still pretty dense. We'll put a little more water in there. It was a lot of soap, but that's all right. Incorporate that water. Now you might just keep doing that. Make a couple of practice lathers and just keep doing that until the lather breaks down and gets these big giant bubbles, and you've broken the lather at that point. But you'll see along the way just how much just how much water this stuff can take. It's a good way to practice and really learn and dial in a soap. And once you know a soap really well, you can sort of do it a little bit faster. This is for demonstrative purposes here. Taking a little bit of extra time. Looks like I lost a hair in there. I haven't lost a lot of hairs off of this B8. I did off the B7, but not this one. Let's get that out of there. All right, so we're starting to get some bubbles in there. So we're going to take this lather and finish it up with a face lather. So let's change views again and move up to a face lather. All right, so we've got a bunch of that lather. You can see how shiny and glossy that is. That looks pretty good. So we're going to complete this with a face lather. So I'm going to get my face wet and then we'll put this on. Now, you might say, that's good there, and look, it's super shiny. I don't know how well it shows up on the camera there, but I do like to get it just a little bit thinner than that. So we're going to add a little bit more water. And when you start to see the bubbles form in there, you can use this painting technique to knock those bubbles down. Little bubbles are okay. Big bubbles usually mean you might have too much water in there, but get a lot of water in there, you need it. Looking good. More water. Get those sides in there to get the water in there. When it starts to goop off the face like that, you know you're doing pretty well. Look how shiny that is now. And see, watch this. That lather that's starting to kind of fall off of there. That's when you know it. Look, there it goes. That's when you know you're just about there. Now, at this point, it's up to you to figure out how thin or how thick you like this. I tend to like it about like that. You can still see the skin through there a little bit, but if I take the brush is not scraping the lather off of there at this point. So that means it's really, really slick right now. Smells nice. A little bit of a chocolatey essence to it. All right, so you can see we got a really shiny, really nice looking lather there. Still plenty for 8 passes if you like. So we're not gonna shave. This is just for demonstrating lathering purposes. I'd encourage you to keep adding water while you're trying to figure a new soap out, and keep adding water until you actually break that soap, and so you can actually see just how slick it can get, because you might be tempted to stop too soon. So keep going, make some practice lathers. It's fun. In this summer break soaps, I love the way that it makes my skin feel afterwards. And if you get the soap properly hydrated, it's not as drying as it is when the soap is dry. And watch, we're just going to keep adding some water, see what happens. Starting to lose it, so that's pretty good. I would be happy with that right there. That's a pretty lather. Very slick. All right, so give it a try, play around with it, use your soap up. What are you gonna do? Save your 5-ounce tub for the rest of your life? Use it up, play with it, practice, enjoy it, smell it. It's fun. All right, until next time, Cosmo, see you later. Thanks for watching.